Hello and welcome back for another episode of the Shop Walk here at Iconic Motorbikes. It is Wednesday, February 12th, and I'm starting off with the champion. Ollie is working on actually champion things. He gets here at roughly 2 a.m. in the morning every day, and so he ends a little earlier. So right now we're at the end of the day, so he's working on some personal stuff. Can you tell the folks? And okay, I'm just going to point out that someone called you out on your bullshit yesterday.
Oh, because
you were holding the mic. Yeah, fell off. Yeah. And so I told that person that I was going to punish you by making you talk longer on this one, and that's what's happening. Okay, I mean jokingly. What are you doing, my friend?
I'm just rebuilding a set of Yamaha TZ250 front forks.
Which generation?
On a bike. They're from a 95, so 4DP. So it's a bike I'm restoring, which will be coming on the auction hopefully within the next. Well, I got to get the bodywork painted and. So it's probably a month to 6 weeks out, probably. Okay. But it's a full restoration. There's the crankcases, one crankcase there with bearings out and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So I vapor blasted it, and it's a full engine rebuild.
4DP on it here. Yep. Cool. Do you mind if I pull it up just for a second?
No, take it out, yeah.
All right.
I pulled all the bearings out of it.
I'll just do that. You mind helping me, sir? Thank you.
That's one half of the crankcase.
So Ollie does some vapor blasting for us here at Iconic as well. So you know, sometimes if you send us something for vapor blasting, depending on the size of it, it goes to him. Yeah, and then he handles it at home.
Like new, like that. Yeah. So that's cool. All the bearings are out of it, and put new bearings in, and she will be like new.
So speaking of TZ250s, or as he says, TZ250. This is why I call Ollie champion, because he won the Open two-stroke race on Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah.
You came in second?
Second on
Saturday, and he won it on Sunday on this beautiful, but this is a 5KE,
That's
right?
5K, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the final generation of the TZ250.
This is a newer version, later. An older version.
Yeah, always keeping the good one for himself. You said.
Yeah, damn right.
Which you better be, because he's gonna. So this year we're gonna race Arma. We're gonna do
Willow
Springs, Indy Motorsports Ranch, and Barber. So that'll be cool. We kind of talked about that roughly, briefly at the beginning of yesterday's video with my BMW. All right, I'll stop putting you on the spot. Actually, no, I lied. Are you done? Are you mid-process?
No, I made it. The cartridges. Well, I'm just putting. We're gonna do the oil level, and button them up now. So they're. Again, I stripped these down, vapor blasted them, painted them, and now they
do look nice.
Going back together.
Who makes the forks for these?
Kayaba, I think.
Okay,
they're OEM Yamaha ones, but I think they're Kayaba, KYB, I think.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Okay, you've served your punishment. Thank you, sir.
Good.
And thank you to the fantastic person yesterday who called you out on your crap. Okay, love you. Thank you. All right, moving over to Steve. Oh, Steve's finishing something up. Caught you at a bad time. I apologize.
It's always a bad time.
It's always a bad time?
Yeah, okay. I think we're going to have issues here.
Fair enough. Well,
we'll see if I can get this up here.
Okay. Well, I guess in this case, I'm just going to hold the mic near your face. Or do you mind clipping in real quick and just... It's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's dirty. Hit us. While he's doing that, I'll just give you the quick rundown on the bike itself. Ducati 888 SPO. Yesterday, in yesterday's shop walk, we talked about the same bike, or the same model, I should say, the one that was coming from the Peterson Museum. This one is one that is going to be going up on our auction site. It came out of a collection of 6 or 7 Ducatis and a BMW K1. We've sold most of the bikes. We're left with this one, an 851, and something else I am blanking on, and I apologize for that. But this is a really, really nice example. 2,359 miles. We sent the side panels over to Brian at BKM Creations to get some of the paintwork touched up. But yeah, it's just a really, really nice, original, low mile. It's a really good bike, except for whatever Steve's apparently dealing with. So do you mind explain what's going on? Sorry to put you on the spot. I didn't know this
I'm just doing tires, but
okay.
Unfortunately, the chain was borderline almost impossible to get off.
Okay.
Because the tire is so tall and it's a new chain, and this tire is just slightly taller
than the original one.
So the chain doesn't want to go on there. I'll probably have to let the air out of the tire and see if I can do it that way.
Okay. All right. Well, this is why he's the professor. He knows all the tips and tricks. Would you mind if can I fire this up just for the video?
Yeah.
I don't want to shove exhaust in your face.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. We'll make it quick.
Make sure we're in neutral though.
Yes, sir. Give it a little spin, would you?
I can't.
Oh, so
it's not hooked up. Just look at the light.
Oh, duh.
I think it was in neutral, but
it's too tall. Nope, it is definitely in neutral.
okay.
Good man. Okay, all right, we're gonna give it a little bit of choke.
Here, I'll hit your starter.
And then, thank you, sir.
Ready?
Yep, ready when you are.
Oh.
Give me a couple revs, would you? Nice. Thank you. Oh, so good. You know, it's a little cold, so obviously it's not revving it hard, but okay, brilliant. Thank you, sir. I'll leave that with you.
Cool.
Can I trade you a tire for a mic? Thank you, kindly.
I like this better.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I like Ollie. I like it.
Cool. So, yeah, well, I guess we'll get an update on that, depending on what Steve decides to do and to fix that problem. If you don't mind coming on this side, Riff, I'm going to point out a couple of bikes here that came from one of our regular clients. These are cool. So he bought these independently. He's going to have our service department go through them, just get a feel for. Unfortunately, all of them, the batteries are dead, so they don't fire up. But even despite that, I just want you to, I'll give you like a quick history lesson on these because I think they're really cool. So this is a 1970s Honda CB750, and we have body work here for a company called Tracy's Fiberglass Works. They're out of the Bay Area, Northern California, maybe San Jose or something like that. In fact, I think at some point, wait for it. If you don't mind joining me here, I will show you the logo, which I think is pretty cool, because I think it explains a lot about how crazy these folks were. Tracy's oh, Santa Cruz. There you go. So whoever was on, or whoever made that logo, probably on LSD. Whoever came up with this bodywork, also probably on LSD. But yeah, I'll swap sides with you. But so it's a one-piece unit here. There are some advantages to it. It still retains fairly close to stock gas tank volume. It also saves a lot of weight. Of course, if you put a crack in this, then you got to fix the whole thing, and that's a pain. But yeah, Tracy would sell a variety of kits, kind of ranging between cafe racer or chopper. They make a kit for a CB750 where they want you to put forks that go up to here for just a crazy raked out chopper style thing. They all had different cute names like Eliminator and things like that. This one, the odometer says 36,000 on it. The gauge faces are very aftermarket, and you know, not a huge fan of that personally, but such is life. You've got sort of modern switches and controls and things like that to complement some original pieces. So definitely, you know, definitely an interesting custom, but we just don't see Tracy bodywork very often. And then of course you got to love the matching orange with flake trim and seat buttons and things like that. So that's an interesting Honda custom. Here's another interesting Honda custom, more performance oriented. Let me, yeah, can you see it, or do you want to roll it out a little bit? You got it? Okay, perfect. Good, because this thing has a suicide stand and it's really annoying. This is a Rickman Predator. Rickman made about 100 of these kits. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I was able to find online. Most were with the Honda CB900 motor, some with the Suzuki GS1000. This is one of the Hondas, and basically it's interesting from a historical standpoint because this is the last model that Rickman made. Rickman, obviously, a British company that had a lot of success in the 60s, 70s with building incredible frames that saved a ton of weight, really performance-oriented bikes, both on street and dirt. If you can show, one of the bummers about all the body, the bodywork's kind of cool in its own, you know, period way. It's a 1980 bike. They made these between 1980 and 1984. So from an 80s standpoint, it's kind of cool, but it also covers up this amazing frame, chromoly 531 Reynolds. It's just, God, or maybe you can kind of show more of it here. It's just a beautiful, beautiful frame, but unfortunately a lot of it gets covered up. I mean, Rickman in the spirit, like similar kind of to Bimota, using other people's motors, but building frames. Rickman was kind of a victim of its own success, or in the sense that they kept making really good bikes, better frames, and manufacturers realized the importance of that and caught up to them, and unfortunately kind of made them irrelevant in a way. But this is a really cool piece of motorcycling history. 31,000 miles on the odometer. Like I said, all the 3 bikes that I want to show you from this one owner sent us, all the batteries are dead. But hopefully on future shop walks, I can show them up on the lifts and running. One other thing I want to highlight is the Astrolite wheels, which are pretty cool. You got braided brake lines there, and then your Marzocchi shocks back here. They look like, looks like an M1R to me, but someone in the comments will probably know better. Okay, moving on this way. I think 2 more things I want to, yeah, 2 more things. Then we'll call it a day. All right, well, I like, you know what, normally I would want to end with the bike I like the most, so I'll do that. I showed you 2 bikes of the 3 that one seller sent us. This is the 3rd, but I want to end on that because I think it's just really, really cool. Not that this isn't, but it's cool in a different way. BMW R9T Custom, and the most obvious thing to me, I think, is going to be, can you get an angle on that front fairing? Usually it's just like a solo single headlight. This has now got this really reflective, depending on the angle that Riff is filming, you might be able to see all the lights above us in the ceiling. Still a single headlight, but different, just kind of like a more endurance-inspired style. This thing feels like it's got the Rizoma catalog on it, the reservoirs, engine case covers. These aren't Rizomas, but there's aftermarket rear sets. The brake lights and things, those are Rizomas. The license plate holder with that carbon fiber there. I mean, it's just, yeah, it kind of feels like a Rizoma demo bike in certain ways. It also has an SC Project exhaust, normally with one of the loudest, there you go, pipes that we find. But in this case, it's got, as you can see from in here, it's got the baffle on it. So it's actually kind of reasonable. You're not going to piss off your neighbors too much. Moto Gadget Speedo, let's fire this thing up. You know, pretty reasonable. I kind of dig it. I mean, we see a lot of R9T Customs. The R9T is one of those bikes that when it first came out, I really, really loved it. Almost bought one myself, but then everyone and their mom bought one. And then when that happens, I personally have trouble owning one. I want something a little rare, which is why I usually end up buying rare, but also unsuccessful bikes, which is a story for a different video. But this is, I gotta say, this is a really, I think it's a pretty successful take on a custom one. The tail section's different. I don't know, there's a lot of people that just slap on some bolt-on parts, and there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of them can look the same. I do personally like this one. Our service department has gone through it, put a battery in it. Ollie was working on it yesterday. We did a condition report. We're talking to the seller right now to see what, if he wants to do anything more, and then it'll go up on the auction side. Cool, so that's that, and then let me end with this. If you don't mind, I'll have you come this way. I'm gonna swing this out just a pinch. Make sure I clear that. Okay, this, oh man. So, I mentioned the 3 bikes that one gentleman sent us that he sourced independently. Well, this is my favorite one of them. Suzuki XN85 Turbo. In the 80s, the big 4 Japanese companies, all making their own turbocharged bikes. They all had different takes on it. Some companies went crazy and just tried to get as much power as they could out of it. But of course, the frames and the tires in that time didn't really cope well with that. Suzuki went in a slightly different way. They tried to focus on the handling more. They went with a low pressure turbo. So it has a 637cc engine, but it only makes 85 horsepower. And that's where this comes from. So the 85 in the name of XN85 represents the horsepower that you get. Now, with that said, again, the focus is more on the handling. Fairly long wheelbase for what this style of bike. I do love the styling of this. You compare this to like a GPZ 750 turbo, Honda CX 650 turbo, which I don't know, the styling of that never really did it for me. But so you got this front fairing, kind of Katana inspired, one might say. The backwards turbo, so you know what's hunting you down when you're looking in your rearview mirror. And then yeah, you got this dash here, 3,400 miles on this one, low mileage example. Thank you, Riff, for coming there. But you can see the gauges. One of the big things about this bike, even beyond, oh, actually, if you don't mind, so you should be able to see the turbo housing somewhere in there. And I'll tell you what, if you can come on this side, sir, you can also see some of the plumbing related to the turbo with this cover that says turbo there, which is cool. So one of the big things about this bike, beyond the fact that it was turbocharged, is, as far as I understand, if I remember correctly, it is the first production bike, at least from a modern sense, with a 16-inch front wheel. And that's a big factor in why this was so successful from a handling standpoint. That up front, and then the full floater suspension there in the rear. Motorcyclist magazine, in their review, basically called it the best handling bike that they had ridden ever back in the day. So really, really cool piece of Japanese motorcycling history. They only made 1,153 of these ever, so it is actually the rarest of all the Japanese turbo bikes that came out of the 80s. I think about 200 of them came to the US. So this one I'm really excited about to have the service department go through, get running, and then we'll show you a test ride of that on social media. All right. So the long one, I apologize for that, but hopefully there's just some good bikes. What can I do? If you have any questions, you know what to do. Let us know in the comments, or if you have any comments, if you want to make fun of Ollie, although he finally served his punishment, which is good. Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.